All right, there we go. Welcome into the Rant, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery, located conveniently in Dallas's fantabulous design district. I am Pugs Moran, and this is the Rant. Every day at this time, I like to sit down here in front of my camera and scream into it like a madman about all the things that confuse me in this world. I'm just a caveman. I am dazzled by your tiny pocket phones and that's the whole thing. I'm a middle-aged man. I'm getting older. I don't recognize the world anymore. And so every day I sit down and I try and work through it with you. Who do we got in the chat room? We invite everyone. Come hang out in our chat room. Taranda's here. Al's here. Jeff is here. Oh, Buanam. Jeff claims it's his birthday. Buanam. Jeff's been a liar for years, though. Happy birthday, Jeff. Says it's Jeff's birthday. April's here. The beautiful April is here. Hold on a second. We got to bring something back we'll do it. There's a couple. We got to get to a couple of these. Hold on. I forgot to do something. Oh, hold on. Now I got to do something else. Sit tight, my people. By the way, the show is performed for the uninitiated in what I call a stream of consciousness rant. What is that? Well, that's just me without having anything written down, just going off the top of my head and ranting about the world around us. Okay, let me make sure I got this right. I do. Hold on. Had some problems to start the show today. That's why we had to delay it. And once again, they were Restream-oriented problems. Restream is the platform that we use. There we go. Okay, sorry. I just had to change something. Where was I? Show breaks down in 4 segments. The first segment, it's all designed to tell you about today. So the first segment is about history, the history of today. We call that antecedently on this day. The second segment, or quarter, if you will, birthdays. You know what those are? Celebrities having birthdays. Are they cool? Or are they dicks? We talk about it. Quarter 3 is deaths. Same principle to start, but then with people who died on this day, we decide if they went to heaven or hell. We talk a little bit about what they're known for and whether that got them, up in the elevator or down in the elevator. So that's quarters 1 through 3. Quarter 4 is just everything else. Quarter 4 is the stuff that's happening today. Headlines, hot topics, trends, pop culture notions, whatever it is that people are talking about. And we do it every day at this time, noon, here from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery. We are Radio Misfits, radiomisfits.com. KB's here. Cameron's here. Leslie C's here. Oh, by the way, we also, we do this from time to time. I don't want to do it every day because I don't want to have to ask every day. But, we do have an executive producer today. Ladies and gentlemen, this came in on Friday, I think. I didn't see it till over the weekend, but thank you so much to Diana, who supports this kind of freeform, non-political, unpartisan. Is that a word? I am partisan. I don't like assholes. I am in the non-asshole party of people. So if you're an asshole, I don't care how you brand yourself ideologically or politically. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. But thank you to Diana. Very, very, I'm probably spelling her name wrong. Is that even how you spell that beautiful name? Thank you to Diana. Diana is today's executive producer. She was awesome. Send a nice note about Kelly. Appreciate that. Where are we? So last night, before we this is the small talk segment. This is where I just kind of get ramped up and get ready to talk about everything that's happening in the world today. Last night, I found myself in a situation that I was in last year, but I figured out how to navigate it to my comfort. I still don't understand it, but at least I'm comfortable with what I'm seeing. And it was last year, and now it's that time of year again. And I'm just as confused as ever. I forgot all the tricks that I figured out last year. And what I'm talking about is Texas high school boys football. It's so confusing. I am a Texas high school boys football father. My son, but I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the problem. We got our first game. Our first game of the year is on Thursday, 6:30. 6:30 is the game. It's a home game. It's there at the home stadium, so that's very exciting. We didn't have many home games last year. We were on the road way more than we were at home. Let's see here. So I don't understand how Texas high school breaks down their teams by grade. I don't understand it at all. And I think it's because maybe we did it wrong in the Midwest. Maybe when I went to high school, you played varsity football if you were a junior or a senior. You had to be a junior or a senior. That was the varsity. If you were in the sophomore grade, you played on the sophomore team. There was a sophomore team. And then the freshmen had their freshman team. There was a freshman team, a sophomore team, and then a varsity. We didn't have anything called a junior varsity unless you just considered the junior varsity the people who didn't start on the varsity. So here in Texas, it's way different. And I don't know, like my kid has 4 grades. There are freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. Four grades of high school. He's got the 4 grades, but for some reason there's 8 football teams. There's a varsity, then there's a junior varsity, then there's a junior varsity black and a junior varsity gold, and then there's a freshman, and then there's a freshman black and a freshman gold. I have no idea, and I struggled last night trying to figure it out. I'm like, when the fuck? Because I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm like, which team are you on? So I call my kid. I go, what are you on? And he's like, I'm on JV black. I'm like, what is that? Is that sophomore? And here is what my 15-year-old kid said to me. I'm on the phone I'm frustrated. I'm like, well, what is that? Sophomore year? What is JV? Is JV sophomore and junior? I don't know. Or is it just the best fucking players are on varsity? And it doesn't matter if you're 12, if you're good. I don't understand it. So I said to him, I go, okay, so you're on JV black. What does that mean? What grade are the kids on your team? And he said to me, my 15-year-old said, how am I supposed to know how old my teammates are? This is a straight A student. He's a straight A student. He's really smart. I mean, like, he's not just book smart. Like, he's like lay around witty joke smart. He's quick. He's smart. How am I supposed to know? I'm like, well, son of a bitch, man. If you don't know, then there is no way that I'm going to figure this out. So I'm completely lost as to what time his game is. I'm going to have to call the school again and talk to a lady, which is what I had to do last year before every game because I couldn't figure out. I have no idea. It's insane. Rob Barr says JV should be sophomores. Right, because the varsity, that's kind of how I guess we looked at it. Rob Barr and I went to a same school district in high school. He went to Lincoln Way, I think. But so yeah. So when we were in high school, the varsity was made up of juniors and seniors. That was the varsity. Oh, you're going to be varsity next year. That's what you'd say to someone who's a sophomore. That was varsity. So I guess you could call but we didn't call the sophomores the junior varsity. We called the sophomores the sophomore team. That's another thing my kid said to me. Is that not a word anymore? And is this another problem with me getting too old? My kid's like, what's sophomore? I go, that's what you are. He's like, it's not what we call it. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you call it? He's like, 10th grade? Fuck. I'm like, okay, I guess you're right too. We used to just call it sophomore, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. It's 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Okay, all right, that's how you're doing it now. You people have decided that the way we did it all those years just wouldn't stand the test of time. So now it's just numerical. And that's because we're getting stupider. Because it's easier to just go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's easier to do that when you're fucking dumb than know what the word sophomore means or what it correlates to as far as an age group. All right, you can tell I'm already salty. And this being Jeff Ballard's birthday, I'm going to tone it down for you. Peter says we're getting old, Pugs. I know we're getting old. April says varsity wants the best of all the grades. JV is typically sophomores, but also juniors who don't start on varsity. See, if that's true, then my kid is right for going, how am I supposed to know how? I'm like, well, because when I was a kid, we knew that all the kids on this team were the same age. Frankie B wants me to pronounce. Is this a fetish of yours, Frankie B? I'll pronounce it for you. There you go. Sophomore, like Wally Cleaver does. I like Frank. Frank's a man after my own heart. Frank's making Leave It to Beaver fucking references here in 2024. That's what he's doing. He's not ashamed. He knows who Wally Cleaver was. That probably outkicks Frank in my coverage because that's way before my time, but still. Nice reference. Nice pull there, Frankie. All right, let's get started on today's show. What do you say? It is The Rant. I am Pugs Moran. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. It is today, specifically, the 27th day of the year. No, what? 27th day of August, year of our Lord, 2024. 240 days have passed in this year. 240. 126 remain. 126 remain. Let's do quarter one. We call this antecedently on this day, but really it's just previously on August the 27th. Here we go. Antecedently on this day in 1832, here's the Black Hawk story. Here's the Black Hawk story. You know, when everybody's like, well, how come the Chicago Blackhawks don't have to change their name? And I always say, well, because it's not an Indian. They're not describing an entire race of people. They're paying homage to a single great American. Somebody who, without this homage, would probably have been left on the side of history. Nobody remembers Black Hawk, but we do. We've got Black Hawk helicopters named for Black Hawk. We've got the Chicago Blackhawks named for Black Hawk. Got the Atlanta Hawks named for Black Hawk. Well, how did that happen? Because the Atlanta Hawks were originally the Quad City Blackhawks, and the Quad City area is where Black Hawk was from. So they moved to Atlanta, and now they're just the Hawks. Anyway, anytime you hear a reference to like Black Hawk, it typically comes back to people think the Black Hawk Indians. No, it was a dude named Black Hawk. He was, what was he? Was he Potawatomi? What was he? Was he Miami Sioux? He was something. He was one of the Midwestern ones. I don't know, but it was on this day. He was like a real badass. He was a serious badass. Sure, he fought for the British during the Revolution, but hey, he was choosing the side that was giving him the best deal. The Americans were like, we're taking your land. And the Brits were like, you can keep your land and you can help us beat up the people who will help you beat up the people who are trying to take yours. So he did that, or at least his people did. Or maybe he was involved. I don't know. But it was on this day in 1832 that Black Hawk, the leader of the Sauk. There you go. All I had to do was read. Look at me throwing down with my Midwestern Indian knowledge. I'm rattling off Potawatomi. I'm rattling off Miami Sioux, and they were both wrong. Because he was the other big Midwestern tribe, Sauk. He was the Sauk leader. And he surrendered to U.S. authorities, ending the Black Hawk War. You know what they did to him after this? Because he was a celebrity. He was like in the Eastern newspapers. There were all kinds of stories told about the great Indian General Black Hawk. They put him on tour. They put him in a suit. They gave him a shave. They made him look like, and then they put him on tour in a suit and stuff. And then the people who were there to see him were like, we don't like that. So they made him grow his hair back and they started dressing him up like an Indian. And he was apparently not down with it because it wasn't like his traditional Indian stuff. They just sort of patchworked together what an Indian was thought to look like by white people. So they paraded him around like a circus freak. On this day in 1832, Black Hawk surrenders to American authorities. On this day in 1939, the first flight of the turbojet-powered Heinkel HE-178. Why is this important? First time a jet plane flew was on this day in 1939. Antecedently on this day in 1957, the first edition of the Guinness Book of World Records is published. 1955, the first. I mean, I don't know if kids, like, does my 15-year-old even know what the Guinness Book of World Records is? When you think of how important that book was, I mean, that's the Bible of every 10-year-old in 1979, right? If you're 10 years old in 1979, you look at the Guinness Book of World Records more than you look at anything else. Because that seems cool to a 10-year-old, having the longest fingernails on the planet, tallest man, shortest man. Oh, that book was always the most fucked up book in the library. There's always pages torn out. There's always people stains on it. That was pretty good. Guinness Book of World Records, the first one, came out in 1955. And it has become so pervasive in the world of world records. It's like almost interchangeable with the whole notion of a world record. Like, it's not a world record unless it's a Guinness World Record. It's in the Guinness book. I mean, how many times has that argument been made over the years? On this day, antecedently in the year 2011, Hurricane Irene strikes the United States East Coast, killing 47 and causing $15.6 billion in damages. I don't remember much about Irene. Which one was that? It says it's a big one, but I don't know. All right, that's going to do it. That's antecedently on this day. Quarter one is in the books. Let's do birthdays. Bonum. Today is Jeff's birthday. Jeff, old school guy in the chat room, celebrating a birthday today. Give him a shout out. Born on this day, sharing a birthday with Jeff. Not off to a great start there, corn boy. Jeff's in Iowa. Jeff was born on the exact same day, different year. On this day in 1906, Ed Gein, American murderer and body snatcher, the butcher of Plainfield, is born unto this world. Ed Gein. Ed Gein's a serial killer that I don't think a lot of people know all that much about. He's not on the Mount Rushmore of American serial killers, but he maybe should be, just because of his early work. He's kind of like the Babe Ruth. Kind of like the Babe Ruth of serial killers. Like, Babe Ruth, we're all like, yeah, Babe Ruth was a great baseball player, but Aaron Judge is better. Like, we look at it like on that sliding scale, the scale of history and advancement and all that. So that's what Ed Gein is. Ed Gein made furniture out of his victims. Something about his mom. Did he make his mom into a lamp or something? Or did he take a drifter and turn the drifter into a lamp and then gave it to his mom? I don't know. Wisconsin has got some pretty awesome things about it, but also Wisconsin has some serial killer nonsense. They got the Dahmer, they got Gein. There's another dude that was up in Fond du Lac. His name escapes me, but they found like 7 bodies buried in his house. I'm telling you, Wisconsin has an edge. Minnesota doesn't. Minnesota is just nice. Like, Minnesota and Wisconsin are kind of the same thing. There's just an arbitrary border there. It's kind of the exact same thing. You could even include northern Michigan as being kind of the same thing. But for some reason, Wisconsin has an edge. There's a Minnesota doesn't have. I don't know. Serial killers. There you have it. Ed Gein, born on this day in 1906. The butcher of Plainfield, Wisconsin. Not antecedently. Born on this day in 1908, Lyndon Baines Johnson. LBJ, fine Texan, senator from Texas. Kennedy added him a ticket in order to guarantee the South. It definitely worked. He would ascend to the presidency there when JFK was killed. I don't know, got a lake named after his wife there in Lady Bird Lake. It's a nice, cool lake. So I always think of Austin. I think of Lady Bird Lake. Got nothing else. Got nothing else on Johnson. He seemed okay. I got to be honest, not much of a Johnson scholar. Seemed okay. Lyndon Johnson, born on this day in 1908. Now, here's a guy I know a little bit more about. This is a real shame, and I shouldn't be wearing this proudly. It's actually a shameful thing, but I can tell you that I know far more about our next guy, our next birthday boy, than I do President Lyndon Baines Johnson. Because on this day in 1942, the world gave birth to Daryl Dragon. That's right. I know more about Daryl Dragon than I do LBJ. Who is Daryl Dragon? Well, for starters, I can give you his nickname, the Captain. Yeah, he was the captain of the Captain and Tennille, Daryl Dragon. He was the dude, wore the captain's hat. Don't know what came first. Like, is the wearing of the captain's hat, is that because his nickname was the Captain? Or was he trying to be a little bit avant-garde and went on stage once wearing a wacky captain's hat, and then somebody like Merv Griffin goes, hey, we're going to call you the Captain, and it stuck? Like, I don't know. Here's what I do know. He's a very well-respected musician, songwriter, producer, all of that stuff. Toni Tennille, she was the voice. She was the girl that was out front. And I don't know if Toni Tennille was we should play that game. I can't play Toni Tennille music because then the show will get blocked. I don't know, because the Captain and Tennille were popular before I had any hormones in my body. I don't know that I ever looked at Toni Tennille of the Captain and Tennille in a sexual way. I'd like to look at her and see if she was hot. Was she hot? I was like only like 10, you know, I wasn't really into chicks. All right, let's check her out. Let's see. We'll go to, we'll just look at pictures. We don't need to see her in real life, right? All right, let's see. We'll do the Captain and Tennille. There you go. She's probably dead, isn't she? All right, let's see here. Was she hot? All right, well, there he is. Look at this dork wearing his captain's hat. Oops, excuse me. That's a burp. That was for you. From me, from the inner reaches of my gullet, my belly. All right, there you go. All right, there's Toni Tennille. I was like 10 when she was running around, so I don't know if she's hot or not. So let's see. I mean, I can tell you right now, as a man of this age, I would sleep with that. That is, I find that attractive, even though it's a little bit 70s and, you know, all that, but I can tell, you know, that's okay. I should be so lucky. There she is. She's not, do you think he was a weird husband? Wait, were they married? I think they were married. Think he's a weird husband who didn't want her sexualized? Because she's not looking sexy. She doesn't go out there and look, you know, sexy like a lead singer would. She's got kind of Florence Henderson vibes, doesn't she? That's another one. Mrs. Brady. Never really had a thing for Mrs. Brady. Never looked at her that way. All right, that's good. That's Toni Tennille. She looks okay there. He looks very dude. She's toothy. I can get past that. If the smile that accompanies the toothiness is altogether pretty and the lights are accordingly, you know, sparkly, I think I can get past toothy. No captain's hat. What's going on? I paid for the Captain and Tennille. Put the fucking hat on, Daryl. That's what the photographer of this picture should have said. I paid for the fucking hat. Put it on, Daryl. All right, there you go. That's Daryl Dragon. He's dead, turns out. He died in 2019. No word on Toni Tennille. Actually, let's see. Let's see if Toni Tennille is dead. She's alive! She's alive! She's alive! She's good. She's alive. She's born in 1940. All right, there you have it. Who else was born on this day? Born on this day in 1952, 10 years after Daryl Dragon. And also a dude that I know way more about than Lyndon Baines Johnson. Born on this day in 1952, Paul Reubens. Paul Reubens. Pee Wee Herman. He's Pee Wee. He's Pee Wee. I liked him. I wonder if he got stuck in a character. Because, you know, Pee Wee Herman died. Paul Reubens didn't really. You know what I mean? Like, people, when Paul Reubens died, the whole country went, did you hear Pee Wee Herman died? I mean, you know, so. And it was just a character. He had many characters. But that was just one of them. That was the one that took off, and he just rode that to the bank. And, okay. So there you go. Paul Reubens. Maybe he's Self-Gilligan? I don't know. Born on this day in 1979, Aaron Paul. Aaron Paul, has he been Gilligan? Gilligan is, of course, the thing that happens to actors after they play a role that they define so credibly and so perfectly. They get cast as that type of character for the rest of their career. Famously, Bob Denver, who portrayed Gilligan, often complained about being Gilligan. Aaron Paul, of course, from Breaking Bad, he played Jesse. You ever look at that show? I look at that show and I go, that's interesting. The people who would go on to build off the success of that show are Bob Odenkirk. Bob Odenkirk broke out. Bob Odenkirk, but when Bob Odenkirk was cast to play the role of Saul, third or fourth tier character on an FX basic cable channel, when Bob Odenkirk agreed to do that, the career isn't jamming. The career isn't going crazy at that point. So, I mean, he was a legend in the eyes of people who love comedy, who appreciate all the stuff that he had done both at the Second City and then again at or Improv Olympic and then the Bob and David show. I mean, he was great. Larry Sanders show, he was great, but he wasn't a star. Breaking Bad made Bob Odenkirk a star. Breaking Bad made Bryan Cranston a star. He was the dad from Malcolm in the Middle. And then it was like all of a sudden he's helming Oscar caliber films. So those two did well. What about the wife? We have not seen the wife since. And this is a thing with Vince Gilligan shows, because the wife in Breaking Bad, whose name I don't even know, she was the wife. She was the second lead on one of the greatest and most critically acclaimed television shows of all time. And I don't even know her name. The wife on that show, Breaking Bad, as well as Kim on Better Call Saul. Why isn't she winning Oscars? She's incredible. Why do the women of Vince Gilligan shows get absolutely nothing after the shows blow up? Bob Odenkirk goes on to get all kinds of stuff. He's a major star now. He's an A-lister. Bryan Cranston, same for him. Today's birthday boy, Aaron Paul, not so much. What happened with Aaron Paul? Why isn't he doing movies? He was Jesse in Breaking Bad, and he's done nothing. He's done things. Nothing big. Not like Cranston things. He ain't done Odenkirk things. Hell, you could even say that Giancarlo Esposito, capitalized on his success from both Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. You could say that, except that I would say that Giancarlo Esposito has been at the same level of stardom for about 20 years. He's just good. He's just a guy who's awesome in everything. So I don't know that there was any significant uptick due to Breaking Bad. He's just great in everything. But definitely you can look at Bob Odenkirk's career and you can look at Bryan Cranston's career and you can say definitely Breaking Bad made them explode. Not so much for Aaron Paul. Or Skylar, right? Wasn't that her name? Skylar White? Nothing for her. Mike Ehrmantraut? He's a lesser character, though. All right, there you have it. That's going to be birthdays. Aaron Paul, Jesse from Breaking Bad, born on this day in 1979. I hope your career gets a little something. I don't know, maybe you get cast as a dad in a sitcom in a couple of years. You rebrand yourself. I don't know. All right, let's do the deads. Sitcoms. Like there's going to be sitcoms in a couple of years. Let's do deads. These are people who died on this day. We decide if they went to heaven or went to hell. Dead on this day in 1967, Brian Epstein. Brian Epstein, manager of the Beatles, created the Beatles, put the Beatles together, told them to wear the suits, told them what to do, liked the haircuts. Brian Epstein, dead on this day. Massive, massive power in the music business. How old was he when he died? Oh my God. He was only like 33 years old, Brian Epstein, when he died. Yeah, I'm sure he went to hell. He was a music manager in the 1960s who broke the Beatles. Pretty sure that guy's going to hell. That guy did shit that good, decent, heaven-bound people probably wouldn't have done. That's how he did it. Brian Epstein, putting him in hell. Dead on this day in 1967. Dead on this day in 1975, Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie. Now, this is an interesting guy, and maybe somebody you've never heard of. I've always been fascinated with him because he is an example of a human being of flesh and blood who is now widely considered to be a god by millions. Millions of people consider Haile Selassie to be what white Christians consider Jesus Christ to be. Haile Selassie was the emperor of Ethiopia from like 1930 until whenever. He was the emperor of Ethiopia who kind of banded together the African states to rise up against colonialism. In the case of Ethiopian, it was Italian, and it was Italian fascism. It was the Mussolini fascism, and he stood up to them in World War II, and he was on that side, and then he presented a whole idea of a United States of Africa where it would be the same thing as us, but different. Anyway, very, very impressive guy, very, very big ruler in Africa back in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. He was assassinated and killed on this day in 1975 during a coup attempt, a communist coup attempt, an uprising. But here's what happened after he died. And here's what happened well before he died. Have you ever heard of Rastafarianism? Rastafarianism is a religion recognized the world round. It is based in Jamaica and has a very heavy presence in the Caribbean and in West Africa. Haile Selassie is the Jesus Christ of Rastafarianism. So he's going to hell because I can't imagine it's true. And you can't just walk around accepting that like, yeah, He does have some interesting lineage, though. Haile Selassie's family can be traced all the way back, supposedly. I mean, I don't know how sketchy the records get. But his family traces back, the Selassie family, a direct line of descendants to, they claim, King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. So that's where he walks around with his stroke. My great grandpa was Solomon. So that was his deal. He's in hell, though. You can't be seen. I'm not. I don't think he was. I don't know. I'm not a Rastaman. But if I were, I'd probably believe that he is Jesus. Dead on this day in 1975. Dead on this day in 1980. Here's one I'm gonna bite into a little bit. I love this guy. This is one of my heroes, one of my comedy writing heroes. Dead on this day in 1980. Doug Kenny. Doug Kenny. I've talked about Doug Kenny before. We talk about him on his birthday. I talk about him on his death day. Doug Kenny. Doug Kenny jumped off a cliff. That's what I believe. I consider myself a scholar of Doug Kenny. There are friends of Doug Kenny, Chevy Chase, chief among them, who will tell you that he didn't jump off a cliff. He was fine. I don't know. Doug Kenny was pretty emotionally tightly wound. Doug Kenny was the guy who created the National Lampoon. Doug Kenny was one of these Harvard Lampoon writers. There's a comedy, a satire magazine, famous, hundreds of years old at Harvard, called The Lampoon. Doug Kenny and Henry Beard rose to the co-chairman of the Howard Lampoon. And then they graduated. And when they graduated, those two guys had the idea to take the Harvard student satire magazine and turn it into something national. So they created, and they got the backing of a publisher, and they created what we now know as the National Lampoon. It would be one of the most widely read satire magazines in the world for the better part of the 1970s. In the late 70s, they would take the brand of the National Lampoon and they would turn it into films, classic films, great film, undeniably incredible films. It would take the 90s before the name National Lampoon and that brand was sold off to the highest bidder, and you started to get bullshit D-rate comedies that are National Lampoon's Frat Vacation, shit like that. But the real National Lampoon stuff, the original stuff, the stuff that was written by the likes of, are you ready for these names? Doug Kenny, who we're talking about, Harold Ramis, who else? Who did I just forget about? John Hughes. Yeah. Michael O'Donoghue. I mean, we're talking about some of the most insurgent and interesting satirical writers of the past 50 years, and Doug Kenny was their boss. Doug Kenny was the one that they all thought was the genius. Doug Kenny wrote 2 movies, and he appeared in both of them. Remember, he died very young. Doug Kenny wrote 2 movies and appeared in both of them. He wrote Animal House, and then he followed it up with Caddyshack. In Animal House, he is Stork. He plays a very small role as Stork. Stork in Animal House is famous for the guy that says, he screams out, "What the hell are we supposed to do, you moron?" That was Doug Kenny. That's his famous line from Animal House. Also, he is the guy at the end of Animal House that marches the band. He takes over from the band. He's wearing the long tan trench coat, the London fog trench coat, and he leads the band down into the dead-end alleyway. That is Doug Kenny. He's also the guy in Caddyshack, who, when Rodney Dangerfield is wreaking havoc over the country club dinner, the dining room, Doug Kenny is the dude doing giant bumps of cocaine at the table with Rodney Dangerfield. He was a genius. He was brilliantly funny, and he was incredibly sensitive, and he had worked his ass off on his follow-up to Animal House, which would be known as Caddyshack. And Gene Shalit saw an early print of Caddyshack and went on the Today Show and called it the worst and dumbest film ever made. Doug Kenny was so upset by this Gene Shalit review that he and Chevy Chase just got on a plane. Chevy Chase was his best friend, and they went to Hawaii. They partied like you'd expect Chevy Chase to party in 1980. And it was wild and it was fun. And Chevy Chase went back to Los Angeles to work on something. And while Chevy Chase was gone, Doug Kenny went for a walk and was found at the bottom of a cliff. It is believed he jumped off the cliff because he couldn't believe that his Caddyshack had failed. They say that Gene Shalit, his early review, had penetrated him so much that he couldn't believe that something that he had worked so. The real sickness here is that, of course, Caddyshack is consistently ranked as one of the 5 funniest American films ever made. And that man, Doug Kenny, that genius, ended his life because Gene Shalit, a critic, said it was bad. So I'm putting Doug Kenny in heaven. He's a dumbass. He shouldn't have done that. He was obviously a little bit emotionally damaged, and there were problems there. Maybe if he had been in a different era, therapy could have saved his life. But there you have it. I'm putting Doug Kenny in heaven. There is a fantastic movie, by the way. If you want, I mean, I've read a couple of books. There's a number of books about him. There's the history of the National Lampoon. There's a Doug Kenny bio. But if you really want to enjoy it and not have to invest all that much, there is a Netflix film that was made 4 years ago that is incredible. It's called, this is on Netflix, the film is called A Futile and Stupid Gesture. And it is the story of the National Lampoon and Doug Kenny. So it's got all of these, like Joel McHale, for instance, from Community. Joel McHale plays Chevy Chase. It's a really interesting film, A Futile and Stupid Gesture. I think it's great. And it's narrated by Martin Mull, who we just lost. It's narrated. The narrator in the film is Martin Mull playing Doug Kenny as an older man if Doug Kenny had lived. I know it's a little convoluted. Who plays Doug Kenny in it? Will Forte. Will Forte plays Doug Kenny in A Futile and Stupid Gesture. It's excellent. It's on Netflix, and if you wanna know a little bit more about the guy, he's actually a hero of mine. I think he's so funny, and he was so daring, and he had no guardrails, and he was in charge, and that's what the National Lampoon is based on. The least responsible person being put in charge. That's all right. That was on this day in 1980. Doug Kenny found at the bottom of a ravine in Hawaii. Dead on this day in 1990. Stevie Ray Vaughan. Ugh, man, this one still hurts. I remember when this happened. I had friends who went to this concert, Alpine Valley. Alpine Valley is a concert venue outside Chicago. It's just across the border in Wisconsin. It's in the ski resort of Alpine Valley, Wisconsin. The concert venue is nestled inside a valley. It's not mountains because it's Wisconsin, but they're hills that are big enough to use as ski slopes. So it's the venue is located in the center of this valley. And, when rock stars play Alpine Valley, they spend the night in a fancy Chicago hotel because it's only like a 20-minute helicopter ride. You get in a helicopter and you're in downtown Chicago landing on top of a 4-star hotel. It's, the way they play Alpine Valley. Not going to camp. You're not going to camp in the middle of Wisconsin. So it was on this particular night. It was a concert. It was Eric Clapton. Actually, I think it was billed as Eric Clapton and Friends. It was Eric Clapton. It was Buddy Guy. It was who else was it? Well, Stevie Ray Vaughan, of course, but who else? There was somebody else on the bill. I don't know. I don't remember who the other person was, but they all got on helicopters after the concert and they flew back to Chicago. 4 helicopters left. Only 3 came back. The helicopter that was carrying Stevie Ray Vaughan crashed into the side of a mountain, got lost in fog. Apparently, I've seen some documentaries, and it was a big local story in Chicago when this happened. So, I remember the details, but apparently the valley, especially in the late summer, the valley has some fog and there's some moisture in the air. And if you don't go all the way up with your helicopter and clear the mountains before you start heading towards Chicago, you could go all the way up and then accidentally slam into the side of a mountain or hill. And that's what Stevie Ray Vaughan's helicopter did. Didn't go up high enough before it started. Tragedy. Stevie Ray Vaughan. We're going to put him in heaven. Stevie Ray Vaughan. Dead on this day in 1990. All right, that's going to do it, folks. Once again, I would like to thank our executive producer of today's show, Diana, who helped us out last week. What a wonderful gesture. Thank you, Diana. We do appreciate anybody who wants to help support this kind of talk radio. Nonpartisan, non-political. It's partisan. Again, I say I don't like assholes. So if you're an asshole, I'm going to be in the party that is on the opposite of you. But it's not really, no ideological lines, really. I'm all over the place. Diana, thank you for producing today's show and ensuring that this kind of show works. You can't do it on the radio. Nobody wants to pay. Nobody will advertise. What do you mean he's not just going to scream about liberals? What do you mean he's not just going to talk about the Cowboys for 4 hours? That's, I can't do either of those things. All right. Thank you so much. If you want to help out the show, we'll put that up there. You know what? No, we're not going to put that up there. Screw that. Here's just one more time. I forgot. We've got this one. Nope. Boom. Here we go. Kelly, my partner of 20 years, her family's got a nice little GoFundMe for the littlest kids. You guys have gotten it so close. So help them out. I'm going to leave that up. All right. Now let's move into all the things that are happening today. These are the actual events that are shaping our understanding of the world we live in. Like, first of all, I guess this will be the big story. You know what? I don't have a TV. I should have the TV on. We have access to TVs here. I should have a TV on just so I'm. Let me check something real quick. Before we go any further. Give me a break. I'm doing this on the fly. All right. I guess I don't have anything new. I was looking for the latest on this story. All right, here's what we got. So there was a big rescue by Israeli special forces there in the tunnels under Gaza. They rescued a man. Here's what we got. Israeli, well, they're calling the Israeli SEALs, although I bet the Israelis would be like, don't call us that. That's not what we are. There's something else. Israeli special forces rescue hostage. He's the father of 11. He spent the last 326 days as a hostage. Special forces rescued Qaid Farhan Al-Qadi. He is the 8th hostage to be rescued by Israeli special forces. Okay, I think this is great. I saw this guy who was all over the news. It's like, my God, first of all, could you imagine? He's got 11 kids. 11 kids basically maybe they had hope for the first 6 months, maybe around 9 months. Around 9 months, they're like, I don't think Dad's coming back. By 10 months, they're just getting used to the fact that he's dead. And then in the 11th month, he's back. He wasn't dead. So that's good. You're going to be happy about that. But man, what an emotional roller coaster this family had to go through. All right, that's point one. Glad that he's back. Glad that the family has their dad back. Point two. Was anybody else a little bit like, huh? When they said the dude's name? Like the Israelis rescued an Israeli hostage from a tunnel under Gaza. They stormed it, they kicked it in, and they rescued him. The Israelis rescued a hostage under Gaza, and the dude's name is Khalid Farhan Al-Qadi. It's even got the Muslim dash. It's got the dash there in the name. The Islamic, right? That's an Islamic name. This is an Islamic name. They went in there and I mean, look, good, but isn't that interesting that there are people who have been taken hostage who don't appear to be, his name isn't Moshe Goldstein, right? I thought they pulled out a hostage. His name was Moshe Goldstein. And I'm like, oh, that's good. That's what I would expect. No, they pulled out a hostage and his name was Khalid Farhan Al-Qadi. I am pointing out that seems interesting because the way I think of it is it's just a bunch of Israeli dudes trying to rescue Israeli dudes from a bunch of Arab dudes who have taken them hostage. Apparently, it's far more complicated than that, huh? Go figure. The world is nuanced. All right, here's the second story. What's going on with the debate? I've been telling you folks, Trump is saying he don't want to debate now. Or, okay, let's be fair. He didn't say he didn't want to debate. He's making excuses. I've been telling you guys this. Trump don't want to debate Kamala. This is a whole different animal. This is a different thing than he is used to. I always point out Donald Trump has absolutely no problem walking into a boardroom with a bunch of middle-aged, college-educated men in fancy suits who make a lot of money. Donald Trump walks into those rooms and he fucking feeds on those dopes. Those dopes get churned up. I mean, we saw what he did to Jeb Bush. We saw what he did to Marco Rubio. We saw what he did to Chris Christie. We saw what he did to everybody. Because that's the sport he plays, and those are the opponents he's used to. He has never gone that route with a black woman, and I am promising you, a black woman who does not work for Donald Trump and does not like him and has been grinding an axe against him is not something for a man of Trump's ilk to be trifling with. I know, what's she gonna beat him up? No. She's not stupid, okay? I know that the whole thing is she's a babbling idiot. She can't even string a sentence together. Fuck you. She's an attorney, and she's a very good prosecutor. May I direct your attention to the cross-examination of Judge Kavanaugh when his Senate hearings were going on? Can I direct your attention to the way she sliced and diced all the tech guys during the tech meetings of the Senate from 3 years ago? It was before she, so whatever, her last year in the Senate. Dude, she's fucking mean, and she's scary. She's a scary, mean girl. And I just don't think Trump is ready for that. I don't think he's going to know how to handle that. I mean, I think I know how instinctively. I think there's a chance he could let an N-bomb out. I think that she'll get him so frustrated that he'll be like, you fucking, something bad will happen. And that's the victory for her. The victory for her is her getting him so flustered because he's not used to how to fight this particular fight with this particular enemy. I think that's going to look good. I think it's going to look good for her. So I understand why he doesn't want to debate her. It's really close. I mean, we used to do polls. I'm not going to do polls anymore because it's just, what's the point? Here's what you need to know. It's really close. It's really close. And neither one of these two decidedly in the lead, although there are some headlines that scream the opposite today. But no, let's not kid ourselves. Neither of these two are decidedly in the lead. It's going to come down to not who wins the debate. None of us are going to watch that debate and go, well, quite frankly, on the Ukraine question, I thought that she had some good points, especially with the redrawn borders issue. I think that if Trump really thinks that he's going to be able to convince we're not going to have that kind of nuanced conversation after the debate. It's going to be who looked weird and who seemed cool. That's all the general public. It's the court of public opinion. It's not about the wonks who will gather and who will say shit like policy wasn't. It's not about that. It's about who looks cool. Who's going to win? Oh, I liked her better. Who won that fucking shit talk fight? Because I think that's what it's going to boil down to. He doesn't want to be in that. Doesn't need to. He doesn't need. I said this with Biden. Do you remember I said this with Biden? Trump doesn't need to debate. It's a risk. It's a risk that he doesn't need to take because his people are going to vote for him anyway, and everybody else are going to fall. There are a whole lot of people who are going to get in that booth on election day, and that's when they're going to decide, okay? But those people are going to decide in that moment. It's going to have the only reason that they might not, when they otherwise would vote for Trump, is if he just comes off like an asshole in a debate. So I have been saying from the beginning he did not need to debate. Now, he did debate, and what I hadn't considered was that Biden was such a head case that Biden got steamrolled by him. But that ain't going to happen with Kamala Harris. She's not going to come up, what? She's not, no, she's going to fucking finger waving and head going. I'm telling you, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I have seen how black girls are on city buses, and it's scary as fuck. They don't fucking care. They're scary. And I'm a white man, and I'm like, I don't know, can I fight with them? Can I argue? Will I go to jail just for arguing with a black girl as a middle-aged white man? I don't know. I mean, it's a much more different and complex dynamic when you're arguing. And I think there's no reason for him to do it, but I want to see it. I want to see it because I want to see if my theory is correct. I want to see if she can actually go black girl on a bus on him and totally make him fucking freak out, which I think would be good TV, but he doesn't need to do it. And his advisors are obviously telling him he wants to do it for ego. Of course, he's like, I fucking want to do it. But I think the smart people around him are going, you don't need to do this. We don't need to do it. If we're like within a 1 or 2 point percentage split between the two of us on debate day, that debate could be the difference in the election. We don't need to take that risk. Let's keep doing the rallies. Let's keep calling her, communist Kamala or whatever he's doing. I mean, that's how they're going to win. If they're going to win, they don't need any own goals. I've been saying this about the Republicans. They're really good at Republicans are good at own goals, and Democrats are just unmatched with dick tripping. They're just both fools who can't seem to execute on what their better intentions are. Own goals, dick tripping. Trump doing the debate when he doesn't have to do it and it goes badly for him is an own goal because he didn't have to do it. And so anyway, they're talking about how he may not do it now. He doesn't like ABC. They're making all these weird complaints about Kamala wants there to be no mute button. Trump's camp wants there to be a mute button. Now, what the mute button is that when, let's say, Trump says something and then it's Kamala's turn to talk. The mute button, when it's employed, makes Trump, you can't hear him. You can't hear what he's saying. Can't hear what he's muttering, all that stuff. His microphone has been muted. Kamala's people say, no, we don't want mute buttons. We want people to hear him. We want him. We want his mutters, and we want all of that because we don't think he can control himself. We think he's going to say something. We're going to get him so rattled. He's going to say something, and we want it on mic. So that's what the Kamala people are saying. And the Trump people are saying, no, that's not fair. There wasn't a mute button with Biden. And, there's that whole thing. So that seems like a pretty easily navigable hurdle to overcome. But they're making it a big deal. Art of the deal. Will there be a debate? I don't know. I want there to be. Oh, that'll be so fun. And again, as somebody who's not voting and doesn't have a horse in this race, this is fun. Let's go. I want to see her shake her head at him. I don't even know if she does that. I've never seen that before. Man, the Kavanaugh stuff, I don't know if you've seen the Kavanaugh stuff. She's scary. She's scary. I'm a dude who's attracted to bitches. Not her. She is too full metal bitch. She is a bitch. She is a hardcore, let me tell you, Mr. Man, she is a bitch. Scary. She doesn't work for Donald Trump. She ain't Omarosa, okay? By the way, Omarosa is scary as fuck too, but she worked for Trump, so her paycheck depended on her being a supplicant. All right, what else do we have here? You guys following the RFK Jr. stuff? We got another crazy RFK Jr. story about him and the whale. You guys know about this? All right, so here's the story. So RFK Jr., I don't know if this was in his heroin doing days, or I don't know when this was in relation to him placing a bear in Central Park or the brain worm incident. He's got a whole bunch of crazy shit going on here. But one day while they were at Hyannisport, which is the Kennedy family summer compound, there was a report of a beached whale a couple of beaches over. So Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., he gets in the car and he drives over to where the whale is beached with a chainsaw, and he cuts the whale's head off. He then takes the whale's head and he straps it to the roof of the minivan or whatever the hell it was that he was in with bungee cords, and he drives back to the Hyannisport compound. Now, a couple of days later, when the family moved back into New York City where they lived, they left the Hyannisport compound, they loaded up the car with the rotting whale head strapped to the roof, and they drove it into New York City. This all comes from RFK Jr.'s daughter, who, by the way, is also trending today, but not necessarily for this. Yeah, I'll accept. All right, fine. Just accept all. Fine, cookies. Got it. Oh my God, I'm just trying to click on this story. So he's a weird guy. Here's the story. It says RFK Jr. once chainsawed off a whale's head and then took it home. This according to his daughter. RFK Jr. once lopped the head off a dead beached whale with a chainsaw. The incident came long before the current Donald Trump supporter and former would-be presidential candidate staged a dead bear cub in Central Park to look like a bike accident. Some 4 years after... But can we just talk about the bear in Central Park, too? Can we talk about that for a second? Again, I have to... Bears don't live in Central Park. Is that the prank? Because the prank was about... The prank was about bike paths. He was an environmentalist, and he was angry at Central Park for allowing bike paths because he felt the bike paths disrupted nature. And to prove this point, he wanted to lay this bear in Central Park so that people would think the bike paths now killed a bear. But there aren't bears in Central Park. The lead to that story isn't, oh my God, a guy on a bike hit a bear in Central Park. The lead to that story is there are fucking bears in Central Park. So I don't know. I never really understood how that became a thing. Let's see here. This latest revelation surfaced in an interview between actor. Okay, we don't want to bury the lead. Anyway, this is Kick Kennedy. Kick Kennedy is 36 years old. She told this to People magazine. Kick Kennedy is RFK Jr.'s daughter. Kick for those of you who know the Kennedys, Kick is short for people named Kathleen, and in the Kennedy family, this is the name of JFK and RFK's sister, Kathleen Kick Kennedy, who died in an airplane during World War II. So, RFK Jr.'s daughter, Kathleen Kick Kennedy, is named after the original Kathleen Kick Kennedy, who died in 1940 or something. Anyway, in Kick's interview with Town & Country, she recounted that she was 6 years old when a dead whale washed up onto the beach at Squaw Island in Hyannisport. Her father got wind of it, and because he was fascinated by animal skulls, not weird at all, because he was fascinated by animal skulls and skeletons, he went to the beach, lugging a chainsaw, hacked off the whale's head, and secured it to the family minivan with roof with bungee cords. That's where it stayed for the 5-hour journey from the Cape to Mount Kisco, New York, she said. Every time we accelerated on the highway, whale juice would pour into the windows of the car. And it was the rankest thing on the planet, Kit Kennedy recounted to Town & Country magazine. We all had plastic bags over our heads with mouth holes cut out, and people on the highway were giving us the finger. But that was just a normal day-to-day stuff for us. RFK Jr. is no stranger to roadkill, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's the story. That's the whalehead story that people are now throwing out there about RFK Jr. All right, how interesting. Now, let's move on to another story that is also sort of associated with this, and this is not related. Well, I mean, it's kind of related, but it's not directly related, because this person who I just talked about is also making news for another reason today. We just heard from RFK Jr.'s daughter, Kit Kennedy, about the whalehead incident. Kit Kennedy is also trending for a completely... You've never heard of RFK Jr.'s daughter, Kit Kennedy, before today, and she is trending in a prime player in 2 separate stories that are sort of related, but only because she's a Kennedy, but not related. So the other reason that Kit Kennedy is trending today, because it's been revealed she's the other woman in the Ben Affleck J-Lo situation. What? That's right. Ben Affleck is probably not probably. Ben Affleck is out there kicking it, quite literally, with the daughter of RFK Jr., Kit Kennedy. So let's get a look at her. Let's see may as well take a look, right? Which, by the way, it needs to be mentioned. This is like catnip to Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is from Boston. Ben Affleck is from Massachusetts. Do you have any idea what the Kennedy family is in Massachusetts? I mean, so as a kid growing up, Ben Affleck was always like, I'm going to bang me a Kennedy. You know, it's like a big deal to him. And he got one. He got the daughter of RFK Jr. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's see what this story is all about. And then we're going to look at some pictures too. I suppose I can get rid of all these Captain and Tennille pictures that I have up. Let's see here. All about Kathleen Kit Kennedy, who is Ben Affleck's rumored girlfriend. J-Lo and Ben Affleck are no more, having officially filed for divorce last week. In the days since the news was announced, Lopez has filed to remove Affleck from her legal name. Like anybody would ever call her J-Lo Affleck. Though the couple's divorce announcement came on August 20th, exactly 2 years after Lopez and Affleck's Georgia wedding ceremony. Let's see here. According to People magazine, Affleck has been spotted with Kathleen Kennedy, the daughter of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and friends described the relationship as being quite serious. Kit and Ben have been spending a lot of time together, but we're not sure exactly what's happening. Here, let's get a look at her. All right, so because he's going from J-Lo to the daughter of RFK Jr., a 36-year-old Kennedy. I got to tell you, yes, I like her. She definitely looks like a Kennedy. She's definitely got like Jackie O kind of things going on there. No, she wouldn't have any Jackie O in her. That's not what Jackie O was. She would have she's RFK blood. She's got some Eunice. I don't know. No, wait, no, who's Eunice? Eunice is the aunt. Who was Bobby Kennedy married to? I don't know, whatever. That's his daughter, Kit Kennedy. She's got the Kennedy mouth. Here, you know what? I'll show you. We'll show some pictures of her. And she's got that big Kennedy horse face. All right. Yeah, she's funny. You put Kick in there, and the first thing that comes up. Oh, no, this isn't. All right, oh, my goodness. All right, hold on. We're going to stop sharing that. All right, is this the same picture of her that we saw? This is Ben Affleck's new girlfriend. and the daughter of RFK Jr., 36-year-old Kathleen Kick Kennedy. She looks like a Kennedy. I'm sorry, she just looks like a Kennedy. You'd be like, is that a Kennedy? Yeah, she looks like a Kennedy chick. She's Maria Shriver, that whole thing. Look, come on, man, that's very Kennedy. She's hot. She's hot. Is she the hottest Kennedy? She might be. She might be the hottest Kennedy. I don't know. I'd have to look at all of the Kennedy chicks. She might be the hottest one. Yeah, I could see why Ben would be like, yeah, she's cute. Look at her in her hat. Smiling. Show the teeth. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe she's self-conscious about the giant Kennedy teeth. What? What is this? Okay, so is that her as a kid, and now they're showing, I don't know. Was that her? What? I think she's like a film producer. All right, she looks good there. All right, you know what? Look, Ben Affleck, I wish you all the luck. I got no problem with Ben Affleck. If I'm being honest about it, I look at Ben Affleck and J-Lo, and I think who's probably the one that was difficult in that relationship. I'm going J-Lo. I think J-Lo is the one that's probably the ball-busting, difficult person to be around. I think Ben Affleck seems pretty cool. I think he seems pretty laid back. And now he's with a Kennedy. Enjoy that. All right, what else do we have? Hey, an update on Martin Shkreli. Remember Martin Shkreli, that son of a bitch? Pharma Bro. I believe that's what we know him as. Pharma Bro, Martin Shkreli. He's the guy that ran the pharmacy company that had the rights to a life-saving drug, and then he charged through the roof. He made it 100 times more expensive because it's going to save your life. But are you going to die? I mean, he's a piece of shit. He went to jail for all kinds of things for being a piece of shit, but that was just one of the things that we know from his past. Another little interesting tidbit we know about Martin Shkreli is that in an auction about 10 years ago, he purchased the only copy of a Wu-Tang Clan album. Once Upon a Time in Shaolin is the name of the album. The Wu got together, made an album, and then decided that they wanted to treat this album of Wu-Tang Originals, they wanted to treat this album like a singular piece of art. And so the concept became, why don't we just never release this album, but we will auction it off to somebody who wants to be the sole owner of the single copy of this album. All right, so that was the plan. And obviously there's a rich douchebag out there who's willing to be that guy because, when he takes strippers home from the bars, he's got to have something to lure them with. Would you like to listen to the only Wu-Tang album that has never been released? That whole thing. So he did it. He paid $2 million worth of it. But here's what's going on now with that. There's a problem because if you remember, he went to jail and he had to liquidate a whole bunch of his assets. And he ended up selling the Wu-Tang album to somebody else. Let's go through the story just so I wouldn't want to besmirch the good name of Martin Shkreli. We're going to want to get this right. Martin Shkreli, once dubbed the Pharma Bro for boosting the price of a life-saving drug, was ordered by a federal judge Monday to turn over all copies of Wu-Tang's unreleased Once Upon a Time in Shaolin album to his lawyers by Friday. Judge Pamela Chen in Brooklyn wrote that Shkreli must produce all copies of what it's sometimes referred to as the world's rarest album. He also has to report the names of anyone he has distributed the music to by September 30th, along with any revenues that he has received from the album. In June, Shkreli was sued by a cryptocurrency collective that bought the only known copy of the album for $4.75 million. Okay, so let's go back now. Shkreli himself bought it at auction 10 years ago for $2 million. Held on to it, got in a whole bunch of trouble, now has to pay off creditors, so he was forced to sell all the things he owned. The album, which he bought for $2 million, he then sold for $4.7 million. That is a pretty good investment, right? I mean, that's literally, although he's going to get to spend it because he's got to pay it all back because he's a fraudulent piece of shit. But my point is this, $4.75 million on an album that 10 years ago he bought for $2 million. He sold it to a cryptocurrency group. So, everything was on the up and up. But now the cryptocurrency group is going, hey, wait a second. You sold us the album, but now we understand that you've got digital files of the album that you're just sharing with people. You can't do that. The collective please our Pleaser Dow. I don't know what this is. It's fucking internet words. It's hip hop lingo mixed with internet shortened words. I don't even know what the name of the company is. Pleaser Deo. Capital P Leasr. No vowel in there. Just an R. There's just now an R there. Capital P Leasr. Capital D, capital A, capital O. No idea what that is. No idea. Those are the people who bought the album for $4.75 million from Skrelly. They've accused Skrelly of retaining digital copies of the album in violation of their deal and then disseminating them widely among his friends and social media followers. What a dick. You can't do that. What's the whole point? You gave $4.75 million. You made a $2.75 million profit on a stupid... Anyway, he's a dick. So he's got to name names by Friday. He's got to give a list of names of people that he has sent the music to, and now who knows what kind of trouble those people are going to be in. All right, that's the latest with Martin Skrelly. Let's keep going. How about this? Very excited about this. I'm very, very excited about this. It's been made official. We teased it yesterday. We didn't know what was the official word on this whole thing. But look, man, we all got our things, man. We all have our things that not everybody agrees with, right? And when it comes to music, and when it comes to entertainment, you want to talk about subjective. I mean, your love for music has much more to do with what you were doing and what you associate that music with the first time you heard it than it does the actual quality of the music, right? I love the Hanson song, Mbop. I love that song, and anytime I hear that song, I will put it on. You wouldn't think that I'm a fan of that song, but you see, that song to me correlates to a very specific incident in a time when I was having a really good time with people I cared about. And so whenever I think about this particular, it has to do with a trip to a lake when I was like in my 20s, and this kid was singing it on a raft. He was just singing it, and so we all started singing it. And now every time I hear that song, I love that song because it brings me back to that point in place, right? So knowing that music is very personal to people, when I tell you that I think Oasis is one of the greatest rock bands that has ever lived, don't hold it against me. Music is subjective. Oasis is back. Oasis is back, man. Yesterday, I talked about the story about how both Noel and Liam, two brothers, the Gallagher boys, who fucking hate each other. I mean, they hate each other in the best way possible because they hate each other publicly, and they're willing to let everybody else in the world see how these two brothers hate each other. They haven't worked together since 2009. They had a big fight on stage in 2009. Noel quit. Noel always quits. Noel is the one that always walks away because Noel is, for lack of a better word, the genius of the band. And Liam is the lead singer, and he's the little brother, and he's living the rock star life, and he's making a mess of every room that he walks into, and he's saying things that he shouldn't in the press. And Noel is over here writing songs, trying to control his little brother, and that went on for 20 years, and it just came to an end in 2009. They've been doing nothing since 2009 other than talking shit on one another, and they are back. They have a big European tour that they've announced yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was official, I guess, this morning. Or like middle of the night, our time, they went on sale in London. But big deal. Here, let me show you, what are we looking at here? They're not playing, like, they're not coming here. Like, there is no announced dates for America. They're just playing, they're playing a bunch of shows at Wembley. They're playing stadiums. They're playing big, giant stadiums in Manchester, London, Dublin, and I believe Scotland as well. So they're basically doing that. But they're going to play it. They're going to play. They got 4 shows in a row at Wembley, which is pretty big. Let's see what this is. This is how they announced it. This was announced this morning. Here, we'll show you this. Seriously, I both love and hate these guys so much. I mean, they're just so entertaining to me. So here's what they put up. This was their post early this morning, confirming all of the rumors. The guns had fallen silent. The stars have aligned. The great wait is over. Come see It will not be televised. And here they are, the two brothers. Obviously, this is a recent photo. So they're in the same room. They don't look altogether happy with one another. But so here's the problem. Like when I look at the schedule of shows, and do we have any of these shows? I don't know. Anyway, I look at the schedule of shows, and Dublin is the last show. They're doing, I think they're opening them up in Manchester, which is their hometown, with a number of like stadium shows there. And then they're going to move over to London. They're going to do a bunch of shows at Wembley. And then the last show of the announced shows is going to be Dublin. And of all the shows, like if I had the money, I'd be like, that would be something I'd want to do. I'd want to grab my 15-year-old son. Let's get the passports. Come on, we're going to go see. It's in August of next year. It's announced for August 16th of next year. Let's go. We're going to go to London. We're going to go to Dublin. We're going to go to Dublin, and we're going to see Oasis. But here's the problem with that. I don't think they're going to make it to the last show. I think something's going to happen in Manchester. I think something will happen on stage between these two guys. Let me give you an example of these. If you're unfamiliar with who the Gallagher brothers are, they are two brothers. They fronted a band from the 90s called Oasis. They were one of the biggest and hottest selling bands in the history of rock and roll. And then they just couldn't work together. They stopped. They didn't capitalize. They could have been so much bigger if they had just been able to be in the same room with each other, but they couldn't. What you need to know is that Noel is the older brother. He is the guitar player. He writes the songs. He writes the lyrics. Noel is also a singer. That's important. Put a pin on that. Noel has a little brother named Liam, who is the lead singer of this band Oasis, of which Noel writes all the music and arranges all the music. Liam, the little brother, is the lead singer. That's all he does. All he does is sing. He sings terrific. He's a better singer than Noel. And I think that's why Noel was like, let's bring him in. But push comes to shove, Noel can sing all the Oasis songs, and truly, there's not much of a drop-off. But Liam, as the lead singer and the little brother, is very resentful of Noel because Noel is the boss. Liam is the younger brother and lead singer, is also the most high profile. So he feels like the superstar in the band. Why is he taking orders from his older brother? Well, then he's reminded because the older brother writes everything, because the older brother is the reason that, these songs are so big. So there's this give and take. Let me listen. I want to play some audio. This is from 1995. This is very famous audio. We're not going to listen to a whole bunch of it. It's 14 minutes long, and it is an interview with Noel and Liam Gallagher from 1996. And the interview goes off the rails, not because of anything that's asked by the reporter, but simply because the two brothers are disagreeing with the way the other is answering the questions. And it's not cute. It's not like, oh, these brothers, those brothers, they're just going to hug it out. No, it's ugly. These are two people who do not like each other, who are forced to deal with one another for both economic and familiar reasons. And if it can entertain us, why not? Here's an example, though. Noel is the one that I am typically more... I'm Team Noel, okay? I love Liam. Liam's hysterical, but Liam is a train wreck. He's a rock star. He's pass out drunk. He starts fights. He's trouble. I love Noel. I love Liam, though. But Noel is the one in these arguments that I always find myself going, Noel is the older brother, and he's being the responsible one here, and Liam is just angry because he doesn't like to listen to his older brother. So that's where I come. Here's what Noel famously said about his brother Liam. This is how Noel, the older brother who writes everything, describes his lead singer little brother. He says, he's the angriest man you'll ever want to meet. He's like a man with a fork in a world full of soup. That's what he says about his brother. He's like a man with a fork in a world full of soup. He's just pissed about it all the time. Okay, so this comes from... Listen to some of this. And again, you don't need context. All right, here we go. Right? We don't need context for this. You can read it. Let me get rid of some of this stuff here. We'll hide that. Here's what I'm going to do, because it's 14 minutes. I'm just going to fast forward and randomly drop us in the middle of this. And you listen to how these two brothers, this is why I don't think they're going to make it to the final Dublin show.
He said, nah, rock and roll is going to Amsterdam. Yeah. Doing your gig, playing your music, That's rock and roll.
Right.
Right? I'm coming back and saying, we blew him away. I'm not getting thrown off the ferry like some fucking scouse schlepper with being handcuffed. That's football hooliganism.
No, it isn't.
And I won't stand for it.
No, it isn't. They sit.
And they all got fined £1,000 each. That's all. Yes, they fucking did.
All right, so what he's talking about here is there was an incident where Liam Gallagher was banned from Amsterdam because he got drunk in Amsterdam while partying and then got on a ferry. And on the ferry, on the way back to London, he started a big drunken brawl with a bunch of people. He got arrested when the ferry pulled in. It was bad news. It was headlines all across the globe. And essentially, Noel is saying to Liam, no, you're an asshole, man. You're not rock and roll. You think you're acting rock and roll. You know what rock and roll is? Rock and roll was me back in my bed sleeping because I know I'd just done a good show and I'd had all the fun and people were happy and were making money and this is the greatest life there is. And Liam's going, no, rock and roll is punching a guy in the face because which there is definitely a side to both. But that's the context of the argument we're listening to.
Did. So if you stick your £1,000, we're right with your fucking ass until it comes out of your fucking business.
I will do that. You have bought me a couch.
But you probably think it's...
No, I'll say what it is, but I was into it.
You're up for being seen as bad lads,
No, I'm not up for, I'm not. I'm not up for being seen.
He's fucking, you know what I mean? He's like, he's big
Shut the
shirt.
fuck up and go and have a piss and fucking shut up. I'm not up for being seen as bad, I'm just up for being seen as me. And what happened on that boat line is we had a few drinks and that because I like drinking, I love it. Into it and all.
Can't drink.
Who can't drink? Well, fucking where the fuck did it go? It went right in there and I dealt with it, you know what I mean? And I was sad.
So Liam is trying to explain what happened. He got a little bit drunk because he likes to drink. And then Noel from the other room goes, you can't fucking drink, you dickhead. Like just...
I know that, right?
Whoa,
Shut the fuck, hey, shut up! Shut the fuck up! Now listen, right? And I'm not saying, right, I'm I'm proud of what happened, right, or what we seen. That is what happened. That is what occurred on that night, and it's like what fucking Bobby Gillespie said, he quoted something, and he goes, I'm sick of all these fucking bands who ain't got, you don't get in situations and that no more. The last band that got in proper it was the Pistols and that, you know, like, they'd go out and like something had happened. And that's all it is, that's the way we...
So the unfortunate reality of these two guys is that they speak in a manner that is very difficult for our American ears to understand what they're saying. But if you ever have a chance, go read that on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's all written so you can read along with what they're saying to each other. These fucking dudes don't like each other. And they're coming back. And the big announcement was made it kind of leaked out over the weekend. But the big tickets went on sale today. Oasis is back. I love this band. I absolutely love this band, man. I can't explain it. I don't know. I mean, like the place and time where it takes me back to, I was working at Q101, which was an alternative station, and they were about the biggest thing in the alternative music world that there could be. I mean, not since Nirvana, really, had there been a band that everybody was like, no, they're top. And we're talking about, this is the era of Blur. This is the era of Britpop in general, but also it's the era of a lot of great American alt bands that were popping up at the same time. But no, it was Oasis in that moment. In that moment in time, they were the absolute big dogs, and they were hysterical. They can't. There are so many great videos. Like, for instance, there's a like hour-long video on YouTube of all of these different clips of, I think it's Noel, who's the older brother. There's all these different clips of, the video is titled Noel Gallagher's Opinion of Other Celebrities. And it's just him slaying other famous people with no shame. No, he does not give a fuck. He's like, and big names too. What do you think of Justin Timberlake? I think I'd kick his ass. I think he's a total pussy. I mean, he's just really funny. They have no governor, no filter. They're just real people who may or may not be awful. One of them is awful. I think Liam is awful. I think Noel is trying not to be awful. All right, there you have it. Very excited about that. Oasis is coming back. Could you imagine Oasis is at AT&T Stadium? Come on now. Make it happen. I'll tell you, I think it could happen. I really do think that they could. It's going to depend on how well these British shows go. If these British shows, and by well, I don't mean ticket sales because they're all already sold out. It was huge. Tickets went fast. So that's not a problem. The problem is, can these dudes hang out together without just killing each other? Do you remember the great MTV Unplugged where Liam, the singer, didn't show up? What was the story there? So it was Oasis doing MTV Unplugged, and Liam, the lead singer, I know that the official reason was laryngitis. He was claiming that he had laryngitis, and so that he couldn't perform on MTV Unplugged. He was pulling a rock star thing. He was pulling a diva thing. Noel, the older brother, who's the songwriter and guitar player, he said, right, fine, okay, you're not going to do MTV Unplugged. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to sing all your shit. And that's what really upset Liam. Once Liam realized that Noel was willing to sing his own songs, the songs that he written anyway, and he's already playing the leads on and has arranged the music. Once Liam, the singer, realized that his brother was like, fine, fuck you, I'll sing it. I can sing it. It might not be as good because I don't have as great a voice as you, but I'll sing it. They're my songs. Noel also once said that he sometimes wishes that they had one breakup after the first album. And then before What's the Story, Morning Glory, they'd come back together and they decided to try and make one more album. And Noel Gallagher has said, that's the worst decision of my life because I had already written What's the Story, Morning Glory, and that was going to be my first solo album. And, that could have been huge for him. That album was a global monster. What's the Story, Morning Glory? And imagine if instead of Oasis, What's the Story? What if it was just Noel Gallagher's What's the Story, Morning Glory? My God. Let's see if we can find that. I'm willing to have this show banned to watch that because I don't think I've seen that in a while. The MTV Unplugged, where Noel is doing the singing because Liam had laryngitis. And then during the filming of the special, you see Liam in the box while his band is playing the show. You see Liam in the box drinking and heckling his brother. It's the craziest. All right, let's see if we have this. MTV Unplugged, Oasis. Let's see. Let's okay. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what these are. Oasis Unplugged, crane camera angle, unedited. Oasis Live Forever. Hold on. What do we have here? I don't watch the full. Oh, Liam Gallagher taking the piss out of his brother. Unplugged 9. Let's see what this is. So this looks like it's. So again, remember the story here. MTV Unplugged. They got the theater. They got the tickets sold. People are there. They're filming it for TV. And the lead singer of Oasis at the last minute says, "I've got laryngitis. I can't go on." MTV freaks out. Noel goes, "Don't worry about it." He goes, "I'll just do it. We don't need him." And that really upset Liam. And Liam then viewed the show and watched the show from a box. And this is what we're going to see here. So, all right, I'm going to bring the sound down. You don't need it to be that loud. What the hell is this? Oh, is this somebody that was doing? Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. So that's Liam. That's the lead singer of the band watching his brother sing the parts that he's supposed to be singing, but he's not performing because he's a rock star diva with a really bad throat. He's in there drinking, screaming, and chain smoking, but he couldn't go up on stage and sing. Yeah, that's Patsy Kensit. You guys remember Patsy Kensit? She was hot. She was like a Bond girl. And then, she was like, I think she was dating him. You just think they're being an asshole with Patsy Kensit. Come on, let's get this.
Okay, we got to stay exactly where you are. Okay, we got to check tapes and things like that, and you never know, the band might just be coming back out again in a minute. So stay exactly where you are.
Oh, okay. So I guess the show has ended, and this is now the show has ended, but now because they're going to be recording it to tape, that's the producer of the TV show coming up telling the audience, don't leave, because we're going to do some other things. They might come back. We might record some other things. Come on. I want to see when they come up.
Second, so please just relax. It's not over yet. Thanks.
Okay. What's he doing? He's threatening to go down there and get on stage? All right, that's not necessarily the one I was looking for. No, we already saw that. And there's a whole... No, I guess they did a bunch of MTV stuff, which I can't find. Why is there no video of the actual... All right, never mind. Just another upsetting end to something that I hope that we could do. Kevin says that Liam Gallagher looks like clown hobo Emmett Kelly. Look at that. Earlier today, was it Frankie? Was it Frankie? Earlier today, we had somebody drop a Leave It to Beaver reference, and I thought that would be the coolest old school reference of the day. But no, look at this. We get an Emmett Kelly reference. Emmett Kelly. People old enough to know who Leave It to Beaver is are like, Emmett Kelly? That's something my grandfather was into. Good reference. I like the references. All right, that's going to do it for the Oasis stuff. I'm just very excited. I can't wait to see them. I haven't been this excited about seeing a band reform since I saw The Police. That was awesome. How about this? In Australia, they've passed a new law that allows Australian citizens the right to disconnect. What does this mean? Well, it means that if you have a job and you're not on the clock, it's after work hours, and your boss calls you, you don't have to answer. And if you don't answer, if you let the boss go to voicemail or just ignore him altogether until the next morning, he can't fire you. Can't fire you in Australia. The right to disconnect, which I understand. You know, I don't know how I feel about this law. I think that there are a whole lot of laws that we don't need. We just have them because the process of advocating for something that doesn't exist can give you a higher profile. It's like, I think that people should be able to, and then people will be like, yeah, I think that people should be able to too. And then that person has to write a law, but this sounds like a law that it is designed to modify what is for working class people around the globe an exploitation of the worker, right? This is your boss is he's always, if you punch in and you work 8 hours, that's all you should be responsible for. And I get that. That's fine. If you have a job, okay? So that's the difference between a job and a career. If you have a job where I can't believe I got to go to my job. Nobody who has a thriving career wakes up in the morning and goes, I can't believe I got to go do my job. No, people who don't really like what they do, that they're doing it for the money and all that kind of stuff, they're the ones who wake up and, they hate it. So it's different between a job and a career. So if you got a job, yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want your boss calling you at 10 o'clock raging because somebody didn't refill the copy machine with ink. I could see that being a problem. But if you have a career, if you're a person who is like, looking at the big picture and you're doing something that you love, I don't know. I'm going to pick up the phone if my boss calls me at 9 o'clock. So if there's an exploited working class that feels like they need this kind of legal protection, I guess it's fine. I'm not going to get all bent out of shape about it, but I don't know that if I were in any kind of parliament setting that I'd vote to support it. I'd be like, nah, this seems like a law we don't need. This seems like... But there you go. In Australia, they now have a right to unplug law protecting workers there. 27% of Americans describe their day-to-day life as being in a rut. Are you in a rut? I don't like ruts. I hate ruts. But yeah, I found myself. Sometimes ruts are good. What is a rut? Well, I don't know where a rut comes from. Where's the term rut? Where does the term I'm in a rut? Where does that term come from? What is the etymology of that phrase? I'm in a rut. Is a rut like a groove? Like that could be a thing. Or is a rut just short for routine? I'm in a routine. Right? Is that where it comes from? I don't know, whatever. 27% of us claim to be in a rut. That means they just mindlessly go through the muscle memory actions of whatever their day-to-day life is. 27%. The survey revealed that over a quarter of Americans, 27%, feel they've fallen into a rut, with 1 in 4 respondents admitting their life is a bit boring. In fact, the average respondent fantasizes about going on an adventure 4 times every day. But only 10% felt they could be adventurous in their current life on any given day. Oh, that's the spark of life. I understand a rut. A rut is good. A rut is how you don't get lost on your way home from work. A rut is just, this is what I do. I don't have to think too much about it. Ruts can be helpful. Ruts don't have to be a bad thing. What if you enjoy your rut? What if everything that you're doing every day brings you joy, be a sense of accomplishment, a sense of worth? Then that rut is just fine. So I guess we're all just sort of projecting our own definition of what being in a rut is, but 27% of people say they're in a rut. Although in this case, I guess they're describing their life as boring, which is difficult to put a positive spin on the use of the word boring to describe one's life. Oh, he's got a boring life. No, actually you can. How you doing, old timer? I'm leading a safe and boring life. So it's positive in that way. I don't know, whatever. Are you in a rut? 27% of us does claim to be in a rut. Burning Man. Burning Man is going on. Never want to go to Burning Man. No interest at all in going to Burning Man. I thought you were open-minded. I am open-minded. I was the first time I heard about Burning Man, I went, oh, let me look at some pictures of the people who are at Burning Man. And then I looked at them and I went, mind open, mind closed. No, thank you. It's a bunch of weirdos there. And I don't mind weirdos. I'm not one of these people that thinks we ought to create, festivals in the desert to gather all our weirdos. But here we have one. We have a festival in the desert that creates weirdos. It's a weirdo magnet. It's also a rich weirdo magnet, which, I guess can be fun. How did it start? Wasn't some San Francisco weirdos who got kicked out of doing their San Francisco weirdo thing where they were doing it? So they moved it into the middle of the desert, and then a whole bunch of other desert weirdos started going, hey, what's this weirdo thing? And now we've got Burning Man. Like 50 years worth of people being weird in the desert for a weekend. Is it a weekend? Is it a week? I mean, at this point, it's got to be heavily sponsored, right? It can't just be this organic free festival. I'm sure it sucks. I'm sure it's like tickets for Burning Man are $500, shit like that. I don't know. I don't care. Here's what I do care about. We got a dead person. Night 1 of Burning Man, we got a girl that's dead. By the way, remember last year? Can you believe they had it again? You guys, we're not too far removed to have forgotten what happened at Burning Man last year. Remember the floods? Remember the desert floods? They were all trapped. People were trapped at Burning Man for weeks. I mean, it was a disaster. Yeah, they're back. They're back this year. They're back 10 months later, 11 months later. They're back. Like, let's do it again. Anybody check the weather? You buzzkill. All right, so a woman died at Burning Man. They don't have any more information other than she's a 36-year-old woman. That's too old to be a chick at Burning Man. It's too young to be a guy at Burning Man. I imagine all the dudes at Burning Man are 55 and all the girls are 28. That's what I like to imagine. This was a 30-something-year-old woman who went to Burning Man. No kids? What are you doing, 36-year-old? Hey, God love her. She passed away. We don't know how. I'm guessing drugs. She probably did a whole bunch of drugs. First night of Burning Man. This is so great. Let's party. Fentanyl or whatever. I'm going to need to take something because it's too loud. I can't sleep at Burning Man. I don't know what happened, but we'll find out. Do we have a name even? Hold on. Let me see if there's an update to this story. The opening day for Burning Man 2024 began in tragedy as authorities, as authorities investigate the death of a female participant. Burning Man's emergency services personnel. See what I mean? They've got an emergency services personnel department. This is a big corporate thing now. Burning Man's emergency services personnel responded to a report of an unresponsive individual. Event officials wrote in a statement they performed life-saving measures but were unsuccessful. Well, then you did perform life-saving measures. You attempted life-saving measures. On Monday, the sheriff's office identified the deceased. Oh, here we go. Oh, I'm sorry. I had the age wrong. This is even worse. On Monday, the sheriff's office identified the deceased as Kendra Frazier, 39. Until a cause and manner can be determined, they will have no further updates. Frazier's next of kin have been notified. All right, let's see if there's any pictures of her. I'll do Kendra Frazier, 39. We'll go to Bing, because Bing, remember kids, Bing has the best pictures. Yeah, all right, I don't see her. Wait, is this her? Hold on. Is that actually her? Or is that just a woman who looks like she's 39 in that? Hold on. Nah, you know what? I'm not going to just look at a whole bunch of pictures of Burning Man. I don't care. Is this her? The festival was good. No. Okay, is that? That's not her. There's not. It would say that that's her. All right, never mind. We do not have a picture of the lady who died at Burning Man. 39-year-old woman, too old for Burning Man. That is too old for a woman to be going to Burning Man. Again, Burning Man is where 28-year-old strippers who like to do mushrooms. That's where they go. And they hang out with 55-year-old accountants who like to go in the desert and do mushrooms for 1 week a year. That's the mix I imagine there. And of course, everything is paid for by the 55-year-old accountant who's there dancing naked in the desert. What else do we have here? CeeDee Lamb has re-signed. CeeDee Lamb, there you go. That broke just after we stepped off the air yesterday. CeeDee Lamb, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver, signs a huge deal. A lot of money. Good. We don't need to break it down. Plenty of other places here in town you can find if you want really deep breakdowns of what the money and the guaranteed money and all that is. Huge contract, very big contract. I believe it is the second highest. This is a way you parse it to make a dude who's an egomaniac feel better. You tell him, you're the second highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. How about that? Which means, where am I in wide receivers? You're still second. You're still second in wide receivers. There's still a wide receiver in this league that makes more money than you. I'm sorry. But yeah, got a huge payday. Jerry got him done. He's going to be there. Well, now you got Dak and Micah, or as I have been saying, now you got Dak. Micah's not coming back. I'm sorry. Mike is not coming back. There is no way that you can offer top 5 in the league max contracts to your quarterback, your edge, and your wide receiver. No team that expects to go deep in the playoffs can afford to have that kind of damage to their salary cap. You got to be able to have depth, man, and depth comes with a price. And yeah, it is. It's about having a guy who makes $3 million a year sitting on your bench and then having a guy behind him who also makes $3 million a year. You can't spend all of your money on your quarterback, your wide receiver, and your edge. Now, Jerry Jones seems to think that he has some magic formula that's going to allow him to do that, but the rest of the league is like, when you gonna actively start talking about trading Micah? Because that's what they need to do. So, as a Chicago Bear fan who is in the market for an edge, feel like we need an edge. We need somebody opposite Montez Sweat. So I am willing, Dallas Cowboys, hear me out. I am willing to take Micah Parsons off your hands. Here's what we're going to give you. You need a running back. You got running back problems. It's Zeke. You're bringing in Delvin Cook. You guys are, for lack of a better term, cooked in the running back room. Okay, so you need a running back. My Chicago Bears might be able to help you out with that. Go ahead, pull up some YouTube video on Khalil Herbert. We'll give you Khalil Herbert. Here's what we're going to be giving you. We're going to give you Khalil Herbert. Or I'll tell you what. I will tell you what. I understand, there's a lot of fandom in the state of Texas about football. If you don't want Khalil Herbert, you can have Roshan Johnson, University of Texas running back. You bring him back home to Dallas. Maybe that'll make your fans a little bit more happy. But go ahead. It's a pick 'em. You need a running back. We're going to give you Khalil Herbert. We're going to give you Roshan. Not both. It's a pick 'em. You get one or the other. If I'm being honest, I know both runners intimately. It's Khalil Herbert. That's who you want. My son, who knows both teams intimately, my son would go, no, we'll take Khalil. Khalil is better for what the Cowboys need. Roshan, we don't know what he is. He's got promise, but we don't know. He's running back 3 on the Bears depth chart. So, but whatever. He's a Texan, so maybe you guys are going to want him. Point is, we're going to give you a running back. We're going to give you a running back you need. We're going to solidify your running back room. Then we're going to give you our number 1 pick. We're going to give you our first-round pick for next year. We're going to give you in the first round. We're going to give you the Chicago Bears first-round pick next year. You also have your own first-round pick next year. So you're going to have 2. The Dallas Cowboys are going to have 2 first-round picks last year. And let me tell you, as somebody who had 2 first-round picks this year, that's fucking awesome. That is fucking the holy grail. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw in a second next year, too. So we're going to give you our first-round pick next year. We're going to give you our second-round pick next year. Dallas Cowboys are going to have 2 firsts and 2 seconds next year. We're also going to solve your running back room problem because we've got running backs coming out of our ass. We're going to give you one we don't want to part with, but go ahead. If it gets the deal done, you can have it. Cowboys get Khalil Herbert or Roshan Johnson. They get a first-rounder next year. They get a second-rounder next year, and they get a third-rounder the draft after that. You give us Micah Parsons. We sign him to a huge contract because we've got nothing but salary cap space. I don't know if you've been able to see, but our highest, most expensive positions, they're all rookies. They're all on rookie contracts. So we're good with that for a couple of years. Let's do it. Let's make Micah Parsons a Chicago Bear. Let's get the Cowboys healthy again with all kinds of draft picks. You don't think you can replace Micah Parsons next draft with 2 1s and 2 2s? Come on, man. And we're going to solve your running back problem. Let's deal. Now, I do understand that as a Chicago Bear fan, I might have to give up a little bit more. But I ain't going Carolina on you. I ain't no Tepper. I ain't no fool. Ryan Poles ain't going to let that happen. Here's what we might be able to do. I don't know if I'm going to give you any more draft picks, Cowboys, but yeah, okay, so you don't like the idea of Khalil Herbert or Roshan Johnson. I do. I like both of those guys. I'm fine with either one of those guys being my RB1. If you don't want Khalil Herbert, that's great. No problem. What do you say we replace the running back? What do you say we give you DeAndre Swift? What do you say we give you DeAndre Swift, a number 1 and a number 2? He's our running back 1. We just got him in free agency and signed him to a deal, so he's all locked up. He's good. So we'll give you DeAndre Swift. We'll give you a number 1 pick next year. We'll give you a number 2 pick next year. Oh, but by the way, a caveat to that, you sports dorks, the number 2 pick that we're giving you next year is going to be Carolina's number 2 pick. Or not Carolina's. We're going to give you our number 1 pick. That's what I mean. See, we've still got picks from Carolina that we're willing to deal to teams who need help. So we're going to give you our number 2 next year, but we've got 2 number 2s, and we're going to give you the Chicago Bear number 2. We're going to hold on to that Carolina number 2 because that Carolina number 2 is probably going to be close to being a number 1 because they're going to suck again is my point. All right. That's how we get it done, Cowboy fans. That's how we make Bear fans and Cowboy fans happy. We send Micah Parsons to the Chicago Bears. You lose that albatross around your neck. And then you got a whole bunch of picks to grab some really good talent in the draft next year. And they'll be on rookie contracts. So, hey, that's how you resurrect your salary cap problems. Sports Bros will take it. All right. Yeah, I know. That's what I said, Sports Bros. They're bringing in Dalvin Cook today. I mean, I love Zeke as much as anybody, but running backs, you know what running backs have become? And how weird is this? You want to talk about how the game of football has changed in my lifetime? Running backs are now the Bic Lighter of the NFL. They're the Bic Lighter. You draft a running back in the 4th round of the draft. He becomes your RB1. You run him into the fucking ground for like 2 years. And then before you have to pay him a real NFL non-rookie contract, you let him walk. or you trade him, or you let him go be a free agent somewhere else. And then what do? Well, then you go and get another running back in the 5th round of the draft. Seriously, running backs are, I feel bad for them. When I was a kid, this is what I mean, how we look at the way the league has changed. When I was a kid, the running backs were the biggest superstars in the game. When I was a kid, there was Earl Campbell, Tony Dorsett, and Walter Payton. Boom, that's it. Those were the biggest. They were bigger than quarterbacks. Nobody gave a shit about, slow white guys handing the ball off. Hell, Fran Tarkington was one of the most exciting quarterbacks that anyone had ever seen, and that was just because it was a slow-footed white guy being chased by giant black guys. It's like, let's watch that. Let's watch Fran Tarkington, the scrambler. He wasn't good. Like Fran Tarkington. Did you ever watch his scrambles? By today's standards, it's like that guy sucked at evading the rush, and he was considered one of the great scramblers of all time. I don't know, different game. I like it better now. I'm not going to hold anchor to my fond memories of being 10 years old. I'm not going to be one of these guys that go, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should still be in the NFC Central. That should still be in NFC Central. Yeah, I don't care. Football. Who else is excited about this season? Oh, man, I'm so excited. So excited. So a lot of pressure on me. A lot of pressure. I've done a lot of talking, guys. Done a lot of fucking chirping. Done a lot of chirping. I've been very confident. About my Bears. It's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure on me. I don't know about them. Maybe them. Fuck them. But me, a lot of pressure on me. September 5th? Is that opening night? Wait, is September 5th? September 5th is opening night for the NFL, right? But that's Thursday. So it's like our teams, are the Cowboys playing Thursday? No, they're not. Bears aren't playing on Thursday night football to open the season. So we're playing on the 8th, 6th, something. Yeah, we're probably, okay, so I guess it's the 8th. A lot of pressure on me on that day, boy. We got to go. We got to play who are we playing? The Titans. We got to play the Titans. I think we got to go down there and play the Titans. I mean, we should be, the way I talk, we should steamroll the Titans. If we do anything less than completely dismantle the Tennessee Titans, I'm going to be in for a well-deserved beating on social media. So let me hear it. Folks. All right, that's enough football talk. I can talk tonight. Hard Knocks. Woo! Tonight is Hard Knocks. I got to tell you. We binge watched 3 episodes of Hard Knocks with my kid when he was with me over the weekend. I'm like, I lied to him. I lied to my kid about stuff all the time, but I lied to him here because he doesn't like to watch stuff, and I get it. I don't like to watch it with him either. We like to have the shared experience. He doesn't like to watch stuff that I've already watched. Like he's like, dude, my 15-year-old talking to me. He's like, dude, I don't want to watch something while you're staring at me, gauging my response to. I'm like, okay, I understand that. I understand it. So we binge watched all 3 episodes of Hard Knocks, and he's like, God, I can't believe you haven't watched this yet. And I'm like, yeah, it was my first time watching it. I was lying. I wanted to watch it with him. So I lied to him. Okay, what else do we have here? Let's talk about a little bit more football. New Heights, the Kelsey Brothers podcast. You guys hear about this? Ooh, this is the dream. Except, I didn't play 15 years in the NFL, and my brother isn't dating Taylor Swift. So, my podcasts are a little bit, not quite as high profile as, say, the Kelsey Brothers. Ugh. Hey, but no hate. I don't hate anybody because you know what? It's a good podcast. Turns out they're really good. My greatest fear has been realized. My greatest fear, like in the 90s when I was doing shit talk radio in Chicago and stuff like that. My greatest fear was that the average person on the street would figure out that there was nothing special about what I do and almost anybody could do it. That was my greatest fear in 1998, that we were all frauds, that any interesting person in a bar could be put in front of a microphone and they can fucking slay it in the world of 1990s shock talk radio. Turns out podcasting has proven that, yeah, that is absolutely true. There's nothing special about people whose natural entertaining personality is now amplified by technology. There's nothing special about us. Kelsey Brothers are good. They're good. And they're not good for jocks. It's not like, they're pretty good for non-professional broadcaster. Fuck you. They're better. They're better than most. They're good. They have great chemistry. They're brothers. They enjoy each other. They talk about fun things. New Heights. The Kelsey Brothers podcast has now been sold to Amazon for $100 million. These two MFers are going to make more in one deal with Amazon for their podcast than they probably made in their entire careers. I don't know about Travis. I think Travis probably got a pretty big payday, but that's $100 million to sit down and talk with your brother once a week for an hour and record it. That's the world we live in. Guys like me, we can't compete with that. I can't compete with somebody who's, dating Taylor Swift as far as, being a reason for people to check out your podcast. We got to come up with an angle. Sacrifices. We will sacrifice. I'll do a podcast where we sacrifice things. See? That's where the dark mind goes. When the dark mind is panicked. I hate that there are celebrities. One of my favorite I listen to a lot of sports podcasts, but my favorite non-sports podcast, well, there's two. Smartless and Armchair Expert. I love both of them. Smartless is like the greatest radio show I've ever listened to. I love radio chemistry. I love ensembles where multiple people are on microphone and they're interacting together, and it's magic. They know when punchlines are coming. They don't step on each other. The rhythm is there. It's magical, and it's the kind of thing that I've experienced a number of times in my life in radio, working with different ensembles. When you are with a group of people and you're doing free-form talk radio, it is like good sex. Everything is in a rhythm. Everybody's laughing when they're supposed to laugh. Nothing is forced. It's fantastic. Smartless does that. They get together, except they've got the added thing that they're just not DJs who are just famous for sitting around. They're actually famous to begin with. Famous people are now doing radio shows, and it's like, what are we regular civilians who aren't famous for anything other than doing our radio shows supposed to do now? Now that the people who we used to have on as guests are now doing the hosting. Again, my great fear in the 90s was that we would be found out that regular people, or I guess in this point, these are people with uber talent because they've already got talent that they've displayed to great success in other fields, acting, comedy, whatever. So of course they'd probably be good sitting around talking. Anyway, new heights, $100 million. Amazon, the National Football League star brothers, Jason and Travis Kelce, have scored a more than $100 million deal with Amazon. More than 100. When you get up to the numbers like 100 million, it's like, that's just a little more than 100 million. You're like, well, how much more? It's like the 107 million and change. I'm like, so 7 million and change was not important enough for you guys. 7 million and change is just could change the lives markedly of me and everybody listening, but that's okay. $100 million. They rounded down. $100 million deal with Amazon's Wondery unit for their popular podcast. Launched in 2022. 2 years. 50 million a year. It's like 50 million a year. It didn't exist. And then 2 years. I've been doing this fucking show for 3 years. And I'm still begging for tips. Once again, I understand. I'm not sleeping with Taylor Swift. Nor am I a member of the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl team or the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl team. So, I get it. I understand. Launched in 2022 amid an explosion in celebrity-hosted podcasts. Don't I know it? New Heights features a mix of sports, mainly NFL, interviews, personal and professional chatter, and has recently taken on a pop culture bent. The show, released weekly, gained a host of new listeners since Travis Kelce started dating Taylor Swift last year. The Kelce's emergent success over the past 2 years is emblematic of the shifting podcast landscape, where a few blockbuster shows are attracting the biggest audiences and the biggest advertisers. Yeah, that's true. Good for them. No hate. I mean, if I'm going to hate Travis Kelce, where do we begin? I don't think we begin with the fact that he just got a big podcast deal with Wondery. I think we begin that he's handsome, and good at sports, and so good at sports that he's a pro, and not just a pro, but like a superstar pro. I don't like when you're good at sports and handsome. I think that that's just not fair. Then he's cool, and it turns out he's kind of cool. And how do I know it? Because I listened to New Heights, and he is. Travis Kelce's a cool dude. He's a fun guy. He's nice. He's cool. He seems smart. Then he gets Taylor Swift. Ugh. Yikes. Whatever. I'm not competing with that. He knows. Yeah, I know. I know they know. We suck. All right, let's show you this. Here, we're going to end with this. This is video that was going around yesterday, and it freaked me out. This is the Six Flags incident at Six Flags Mexico. Who knew about that? Who knew Six Flags Mexico? Well, actually, I bet some of you did. I don't know. I'm not sure about it. So here's what happened at Six Flags Mexico. Six Flags Mexico had a storm roll through on Sunday, and this is like I don't know, what's a stupid crazy Six Flags ride, and people are like super high up in the air. I don't know if this is is this swings? It looks kind of like swings. Maybe it's not a roller coaster. You can see the roller coaster underneath them, so they're higher than the roller coaster. So like a freak storm blows through, and I guess the power went out. So all of these people are like up there in these like insane winds with this crazy horizontal rain coming down. They were stuck up there for a period of time. Let's watch it. No, thank you. Here we go. Look at that. Oh my God. All right. What the hell? It's pouring down rain. The wind is whipping. Although it doesn't look like it's whipping that bad. And it appears that this roller coaster down here is working. I can't tell if there are people on this roller coaster. See, here's the car. Is there anybody in this car on this roller coaster? Those people are upside down. Ay. No, thank you. Ugh. All right. First of all, my thoughts on this. I don't do that stuff anymore. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. Somehow, some way, I got out of my son's. Well, I guess he's still in his teenage years. I've never had to take my kid to Six Flags. I've never had to go to, I've never been to an amusement park with my kid. I've been to carnivals. I've been on carnival rides and stuff with him when he was little. I've been to like festivals where they have rides. But I don't think we've ever been to a Six Flags, my son and I. And I'm perfectly good with that. I used to ride roller coasters all the time. Don't need to anymore. It's not something that I really. And it's not about, what are you scared? I'm like, no, I just don't want to wait in line for an hour and a half. I don't enjoy theme parks anymore. But I can tell you this, and I didn't know this was a thing. I don't know how jazzed I would be to go to Mexico, the Mexican Six Flags. You know, that just doesn't. It reminds me of a great Al Madrigal joke. I don't know if you guys like Al Madrigal. Al Madrigal is He's a Mexican stand-up comedian. He's very funny. He's one of my favorites. But he has this joke about, you know, he's a proud Mexican, but he can't help but understand that whenever you want to denigrate something or make it obviously less good, you put Mexican in front of it. Like, and it's a funny joke. Like he says, hey, who wants to go to the circus? And everybody's like, yay, the circus. And then he goes, the Mexican circus. It's like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a little bit different than the white people circus. Anyway, it's a funny bit that El Madrigal does. But that's kind of how I feel about the Mexican Six Flags. Like, yeah, I don't know what kind of laws they got in that country. I don't know if I'm comfortable going. I don't even, look, it's not that I know what the laws that govern, you know, amusement park safety are here in America. I don't know what those laws are. But here's the thing. I assume they exist. I don't have to know what those laws are, but I just assume that in America, there's probably some kind of regulation about checking these things out and all that stuff. Maybe I'm dumb. Well, not maybe, but that's just me. I think here in America, I can get on a Six Flags ride in Georgia and it'll be essentially safe because I don't know if that's the case in Mexico. I don't know that I'd be like, yeah, there's probably a government agency that at least checks the oil in these things every couple of weeks. I don't know that the Mexican Six Flags has that. Anyway, is that true of everything? I don't think that's true of everything. I'm thinking about, I'm now, nobody ever benefits when you dissect a joke, but now I'm dissecting that Al Madrigal premise that everything is made less cool when you add Mexican in front of it. And again, he does this as a Mexican, but like I don't think he do with food. Like, hey, anybody want some chicken? I'll be like, eh. But if they go Mexican chicken, I'll be like, yeah, all right. No idea what that is, but that sounds better. That sounds way better. Anybody want to get a prostitute? Nah, a Mexican prostitute. All right. That sounds better. Mexican food, Mexican women. They're superior to everything else. That's it. And I guess, all right, you know what, if that's the trade, is that the trade-off? They have to put up with Mexican circus jokes and, Mexican grocery store jokes and stuff like that because they know that, nobody can joke about their women or their food. That's true. Jeff Ballard, birthday boy, he says, I could probably do a Six Flags, but I already told the kids I'm not paying for Disneyland or Disney World. Waste all that time and money to only ride. Yeah, that shit's expensive. That's rich people stuff. Disney World, Disneyland. I ain't never been to no Disney World or Disneyland. I'm sorry, but the way I grew up, that's rich people stuff. Normal working class people, we went to carnivals, and maybe once a year we went to Six Flags. And that was a big fucking deal. Going to Six Flags, that's a big deal. That's an expensive day for mom or dad or whoever it is. Blue collar family. But these people that would go, we're going to Disney again. We're a Disney family. Oh, fuck you. Anybody who utilized, I always looked at it this way. Any family that used an airplane for their vacation was super rich. You were rich. If you went on a vacation, and by the way, here's the only trick to that. Not to visit grandma. Because if the whole family got on a plane and flew to Oklahoma to visit grandma's probably paying for that. I get that. But if you were just like if I went to high school with you and you're like, yeah, we went to Florida, and you'd be like, oh, how long of a drive is that? And they'd be like, we didn't drive, and I'd be like, oh, rich people. Rich people. Where I grew up in Illinois, you drove everywhere. You could drive anywhere. California was really, you didn't drive to California, but you could drive anywhere. It's like if your friends went, where'd you go on vacation? New York. How'd you get there? We drove. Of course you did. Of course you did. You just drove straight across the country. Rich people used airplanes when I was a kid. All right, guys, that's about it. We're going to end this show here and now. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'd love to introduce you one more time to a little GoFundMe link that we've got put up there for Kelly Moore, my former partner. She passed away unexpectedly, 2 weeks ago now. So if you want to drop a little something in there, thank you so much. One more time, we'd like to thank our executive producer of this day's show. Again, this show does run on your tips. Today's exec producer, the wonderful Diana. Thank you so much, Diana. I do appreciate it. Wanted to make sure she got thanked. We'll put this back up. And folks, that's going to do it. We'll see you back here tomorrow. We appreciate you. This has been The Rant. I'm Pugs Moran, live in the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery located in Dallas's fantabulous Design District. This has been a production of Radio Misfits Dallas for RadioMisfits.com.